start tonight by throwing a number at you that really is astonishing. According to the group Mothers Against Drunk Driving, more than 2 million defendants in this country have been convicted of driving under the influence 3 or more times.
Wow, and repeat offenders putting innocent lives at risk, of course. Prison is, of course, one answer as well, but is there another one? In this special report, News 3's Denise Rosh takes a closer look for us.
Going to our A group, page one. Stephen, are you there?
It's a typical Thursday afternoon, and the calendar is full.
Overall, you're doing well. Any concerns?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Shannon Wittenberger, a hearing master for Clark County's Felony DUI court, checking in with defendants who have committed to change.
So you've been in the program about 2 months now. What's the biggest difference you've seen in yourself?
Less anxiety because I'm more familiar with what's going on.
Each person called has been arrested 3 times for DUI. Instead of mandatory prison, those who qualify come here, entering into a treatment program that lasts 3 to 5 years.
We definitely have a DUI problem.
And Wittenberger says the goal is to get to the core of the defendant's personal battles with addiction.
Resources are always an issue, especially for treatment programs, because ideally, we'd have more inpatient beds and we'd have more sober livings and we'd have more treatment facilities. But I don't think that's the only issue. I think there's clearly, like I said, there's a stigma, there's people not being comfortable admitting they need help.
Out on the highway, local law enforcement tries to keep up.
There is no excuse to ever drive impaired.
In the first 2 months of 2022, troopers with Nevada State Police arrested more than 300 drivers on suspicion of DUI in southern Nevada. In one case, a trooper was sitting in his car on the side of the road when he was hit. Court records show it was not the driver's first DUI, not even his second.
He didn't even have time to put his seatbelt on when a driver that was later suspected of impairment struck him from behind. Luckily, our trooper is okay. He is banged up.
But defendants in felony DUI court haven't physically hurt anyone but themselves, now receiving intense therapy and supervision before that changes.
On a personal level, saved my life.
Meet Sean, a recent graduate of the program who describes himself as a blackout drinker. He literally fell asleep at a traffic light.
And I would have told you after the first one, I was done. I mean, there's no way that can happen. I mean, in any way, shape, or form. I mean, that's not who I am. That's not acceptable. But, in the midst of this, in the midst of my, addiction, my alcoholism, it was just survival.
Now sober for 4 years, Sean is a mentor for other people entering treatment.
Well, I'm there for them. Like I tell the guys, I'm not acting as an agent of the court. I let them vent.
But if DUI court is one way to address the Valley's issues with drugs and alcohol, technology is another. So far this year, more than 75 wrong-way drivers have been reported on Valley roads. Troopers say the vast majority were impaired. The state, though, might have an answer.
We are coming up near the end of a 3-year study of a wrong-way driver system that we think is having a lot of success. And it's proving that in the future, this is really going to save lives.
Justin Hopkins is a spokesman for Nevada Department of Transportation, the agency using radar to detect when a vehicle enters the highway in the wrong direction.
It sets off a system of flashing lights and signs that say wrong way. It also records in a closed-circuit video, a short video clip of the driver that is then immediately shared with our law enforcement partners, so they know in real time exactly who they're looking for.
Southern Nevada currently has 1 test location at US 95 in Durango. Northern Nevada has 36 of them.
So is the state doing enough? That's a really tough question.
Erin Breen with Road Equity Alliance Project.
I think that the state is working towards a good solution. I get a little upset because we live where 75% of the population is, and yet we have one potential solution in our city.
But Hopkins says more are coming. NDOT now taking bids to build out the system. Groundbreaking expected in January 2023.
The first phase we think should include about 10 systems in southern Nevada. The majority of those are going to be down here on the resort corridor along I-15 and up in the far Northwest Valley.
Back in the courtroom,
What is your advice to someone starting?
Talk to everybody else that's in the program and just kind of push yourself, keep your nose in the grindstone, and be positive, and it's not that difficult. You can get through it.
it is a long, slow journey to sobriety, changing attitudes and habits here to save lives out on the highway.
News 3 is dedicated to keeping you informed about the war on drugs in our community with our ongoing Nevada Addicted series.
Tonight, Steve Wolford joins us from downtown Las Vegas to break down some new numbers on overdose deaths in Clark County. And Steve's actually over in the newsroom. Steve, we understand the local trends really don't match up with the national numbers.
Yeah, they're a little bit different for sure, you guys. According to the DEA, the biggest killer nationally is, of course, fentanyl. But to be sure, while fentanyl is responsible for a growing number of deaths locally, the DEA says right now anyway, our biggest killer is methamphetamine.
Meth is a problem here. Obviously, there's more overdose deaths related to methamphetamine than fentanyl.
That's right. Meth is currently responsible for more overdose deaths than fentanyl in Clark County, according to Kevin Adams, the new assistant special agent in charge of the DEA's Las Vegas office. The reason, locally, there's a greater demand for meth. According to the CDC, there were 105,000 overdose deaths over a 12-month period last year, 65% blamed on fentanyl. But in Clark County, 61% of the overdose deaths were caused by meth. But that will likely change.
You'll see that the rate of increase of utilization is going more and more towards fentanyl, and you'll see the rate of overdose deaths will start catching up to that national average. So that's why we're focused so much on the popularity of fentanyl use.
That means law enforcement will continue to seize even more counterfeit painkillers, along with fake Xanax and Adderall, 40% of which contain potentially lethal amounts of fentanyl.
I think there's a lot of ignorance amongst users right now, and that's why DEA is pushing the One Pill Can Kill campaign. It doesn't take much fentanyl within that illicit pill to kill you. Like, it only takes 2 milligrams is a potentially lethal dosage.
Incredibly, the counterfeit pills fool addicts all the way into detox.
That's a whole game changer from a detox standpoint. Now we're seeing people who think they're getting Xanax off the street and they're actually getting fentanyl, which is then creating a whole other issue for them that they weren't even aware of, that they were taking opioids.
And coming up Sunday on News 3, we'll continue our conversation with the woman you just saw there. She's a nurse, Shannon Wittenberger, and take you inside a new detox center that's using a special treatment to lessen the withdrawal symptoms, which are notoriously uncomfortable for people trying to get off fentanyl. Reporting live in the newsroom, Steve Wolford, News 3. Back to you.
All right, so enlightening. Thank you so much, Steve. A new study found the number of illicit pills containing fentanyl seized by U.S. law enforcement jumped 5,000% between 2018 and 2021. Now, according to U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration data, more than 42,000 fentanyl-laced pills were seized in 2018 and nearly 2.1 million seized in 2021. A co-author of the study said widespread education is needed about the risk of pills that don't come from a pharmacy.
Many of you have a lot to say about violence in our schools, and Crisis in the Classroom hears you. Let's start with an email sent to me from viewer Jackie, who believes how students are punished has an impact. Regarding discipline, too many elementary students have major behavior problems, but there are few consequences. Calling parents rarely changes behavior, and most of the time the students remain in the classroom and the behavior continues. Well, Tuesday, Superintendent Jesus Jara and the district announced changes. I was there. He says CCSD will start recommending students to be expelled over fights that cause significant campus disruptions. Take a listen.
If students violate the student code of conduct, it will be clear what consequences will be.
Now, some teachers I spoke to say this is just one step, but having more staff will help. As we know, there is a teacher shortage. Several of you are calling the tip line in saying parents also need to step up. This is viewer Bridget.
I saw your segment and I just am concerned. I believe there needs to be parents and volunteers to come forward to help these children.
Now here's another call to the tip line. Seems like this viewer agrees with Bridget.
My belief is the kids should be taught by their parents at home, not by the teacher. It's not a daycare. School is a place to learn, but not to learn how to behave.
Now, last week, I brought you a story of one possible solution, the program Dads in Schools, that will bring dads onto campuses to help prevent fights.
There's strength in numbers, and I can tell you when you have 10 men standing there, it's a wall of men. And I think just that prevention through presence is important.
As we just heard, prevention is a goal. So how do you get ahead of things? One News 3 viewer says students need someone to talk to.
A lot of kids are being bullied, and they feel like there's nothing else they can do except to do stuff like this. So maybe if they start having therapists at the school or they can go to and feel safe to talk about it.
And this gets me to the part about counselors. Some teachers tell me there are not enough, and sometimes one counselor works at several schools. How many counselors do you have at your school? Do you believe there need to be more? What about viewers' comments on parents? Do you think parents need to be held responsible when a student causes a fight or does something violent? You tell me your thoughts as usual on all of this, and so that I can take those concerns to the people in charge. Reach out to me at schooltips@news3lv.com or call my tip line 702-805-0489.
Hi everybody, I'm Reed Cowan from News 3 Las Vegas. We want to thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Remember, you can always see more of our videos by clicking on the video links. And also don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of our YouTube updates. Thanks for watching.